It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions. Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports Thursday? We do, you do. From the DIXIELINE Lumber Home Studios in San Diego, heading towards a great sports weekend, we welcome you to our Thursday podcast. We are back. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host, the Venerable John Riley, with his opinions from left field. We welcome you to our Thursday podcast. This podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber, 8 locations in San Diego to serve you. You got projects, they've got materials. You want ideas, they can be your best friend, a consultant. You're a fix-it person. Go to DIXIELINE.com to see all the things they have to offer. John Riley, good afternoon. It is time for full disclosure. We have missed being on this podcast because we had to miss a podcast because John's in the process of moving to a new castle. I am in my man cave. John has moved into a new house with the ocean view. How dare you text me and tell me, Lee, we're moved in, we're settled, it's 76 degrees over here in Oceanside, while in my driveway it's 101. How dare you do that? But I'm glad we got this thing settled. And for all of our viewers, we've had a lot of technical issues. We've gotten virtually every one of the podcasts on live stream, with the exception of what happened on Monday. But we have survived electrical failures, power failures in my community, his computer meltdowns, etc. We're good to go, except dude's got an ocean view from his new castle while it's 101 in my driveway. You did a good job getting there, getting this thing done. Glad to be back with you.
Glad to be back. Yeah. And actually on Monday, man, we were moving, so anyways, it's all good. We're going to rebuild like a different version of the podcast studio here. I'm really excited, Lee.
We're going lots of different directions on this podcast. We do sports talk the way it should be done. Topics on the table, lots of opinions. But when we're done, the other factor, you with us on live stream, you who follow us, you get the chance to participate. It's called Fans Forum. John, how does it work?
Yeah, you should see all the guys piling in here. I see Christopher. I see Casey. I see Notco. I see John. XX Revolution is in the house. So if you got a question or comment in the world of sports for Hacksaw, leave your hot take in the live chat on YouTube, on Facebook, or X. We'll get you involved in Fans Forum.
And just a prerequisite to everything we're saying today, John Riley promised me, I'm invoking the old military term, no FUBAR. We're done with technical problems. Hope that works. Okay, we're going a lot of different directions, John. We are baseball-centric. We're batting leadoff. We'll give you some unique and different opinions as to where baseball is heading towards the first weekend of September. And then we want fans to pile on with their reaction to what we have to say. John, first things first, tee it up with Padre baseball.
Yeah, there we go. Big picture of Tatis there, Lee. Had a hell of a game in New York. I wish they would have won 2 out of 3.
Well, this is a 12-pack of games in which I projected maybe they could go 10-2. Well, that won't happen. But it's now or never. It's go time for the Padres. And you say, well, Lee, they're red hot. How could that be? Yes, they're playing really well. Please realize they have beat up a lot of bad teams. And once they get done with this 6-game homestand with Minnesota and Pittsburgh, they start playing real people again. Now, the Padres are playing really well. They've gotten stabilized starting pitching since the trade deadline. Their guys are getting to the 5th and 6th innings. They've hit. Tatis has given us slices of being a superstar again. So I'm pretty pleased in the bigger picture. But at the end of the day, John, it's right there in front of them. They have to finish second in the wild card race. Because if they finish third, they got to play all 3 games on the road. We don't know who the wild card opponent will be. It might be Atlanta, might be Chicago. You don't want to play on the road against a division winner. So that's critical that they find a way to finish this 6-game stretch against have-nots up, because then they got to go to Tampa Bay Then they got to play the Yankees. Then they got to play the Dodgers again. And they still got a pile of games against Arizona, who they're fighting tooth and nail with for that final wild card spot. Just a couple of comments. Man, is Tatis red hot. Smoking home runs, going over the wall to pull home run balls back, including a grand slam shot against the New York Mets. He's hitting. This guy is playing really well. Not real happy at times, though, with some of the decisions. You know, this cadre of mistakes, sending guys from second to third, third to home. They get so many guys thrown out on the bases and scoring position. I just wonder if that comes back to haunt them, especially the bad series with the Mets, where they had 3 guys thrown out at home plate in 2 innings and wound up costing them a game. I think the other thing that's really concerned me, why are we screwing around at this point with bullpen days? We don't need to have Wandy Peralta or somebody else start a bullpen day when most of your starters have been really trustworthy and efficient. Let's not screw around with that. I will say I'm concerned that Machado is just not Machado. His batting average is now .211, and Machado is in a 16 for 72 skid. Yeah, he hits an occasional home run. I see no consistency at all. This can be the worst season of his baseball career. Sheets, outside of the odd home run, is doing nothing. He's in a 10 for 82 hole. And obviously he's got a foot problem. Why is he playing? He's not hitting whatsoever. Jackson Merrill had a rugged trip into New York, went 2 for 21 on the road trip, and had 10 strikeouts. But overall, he's done very well. So at the end of the day, that's where we are with the Padres. Hey, it's go time. Can't afford to finish in second place in the wild card race. Have to finish, or can't afford to finish third. Have to finish second and get home field advantage at least in the first round. By the way, Monday, press conference, Petco Park. The Feliciano family will take over officially as the control person of the Padres, a new organization. And by the way, speaking of playoff races, John, I don't know if you had time since you've been unpacking and moving furniture and all that. You look at the American League wildcard race. You know, you got the Yankees and Red Sox in a dogfight for the top wildcard spots. How about this? 6 teams in the AL are fighting for the final wild card spot, John. All 6 are below 500.
Right.
AL equals awful league. That's the way I view it. American League is just terribly, terribly weak. There's only 5 teams in the American League with winning records. You got 10 teams in the American League with losing records, including everybody that's fighting for the third wild card spot. So I'm batting leadoff. Like what I see with the Padres, don't like what I see from Machado and Sheets. Obviously concerned about too many guys getting thrown out on the bases. And they need a hot streak against good people to continue this push to finish second in the National League in the wild card chase, not third. John?
Well,
put the ball in play. Your turn.
I mean, I think, Lee, I get you. You want to get that home field advantage in that first round, but I think doesn't the number 5 seed, which is the number 2 wild card, don't they also have to go on the road? Because doesn't 4 play? How does this work? No. The 3 seed will play the 6 seed at the 3 seed location.
Right. And that's the winner.
Yeah, that's one of the division winners. And then the 5 seed will play the 4 seed at the number 4 seed's home field. Mm-hmm. So you got to top the Cubs. You got to get to be the number 1 wild card in order to host the games. I mean, we knew last year they went on the road to Chicago, and did they get swept to in barbecue, or did we go to a third game?
At the end of the day, this is going to be hard. You got the Dodgers, you got an unbelievably hot-hitting Atlanta team, and you got all things Chicago Cubs baseball when they're at Wrigley Field. This is going to be hard, but this team needs to keep winning. This team needs to hit. This team needs to build momentum. What do you like? What concerns you about this team right now as we march through the final days of August into the month of September?
I like the pitching. Boy, it's a big upgrade. I've got a lot of quality starts from these guys. It seems like the offense still is sputtering, and it'll get hot and it'll get cold. And to your point, Machado and Sheets aren't really doing it. Although Sheets did get a nice hit there in the ninth inning in the last night's game, or yesterday afternoon's game. But yeah, the hitting, it's just there's like a little voodoo. Like what's his name? Jackson Merrill just keeps going for that high fastball up in the zone, and he won't lay off it. And he's been whiffing, so as great as Tatis has been, these other guys are just not really all that dependable. Even you bring in Austin Hayes, who had his moment when he first came over, but he wrapped up the game hitting into a, double play to end the game. And we just can't have that, especially when Tatis was on deck ready to go.
They need their stars. They need their veteran guys to be their veteran guys making the big payday. And that includes Machado. That includes Bogarts. I have no problem with Jackson Merrill. I think he'll refine it and get it back. Coming home probably will help him. One sidebar note, Joe Musgrove is going to make one more rehab start. He's had 3 of them, so good. The last one, 4 2/3 innings. He got banged around, but he was clocked at 95, 96, and 97 in a 75-pitch effort. He's going to make one more rehab start, and then they're going to have to make a decision as to whether he gets activated or not. He has to be on the active roster and the 40-man roster to be eligible in postseason play. Nick Pivetta, it's been very silent, which leads me to believe he's farther away than being ready to pitch in any type of rehab game. So that's all things Padre baseball. Like, dislike. What do you think about this team right now? They're hot, and there's no doubt about that. Can they continue this once they stop playing the bad teams in baseball, which is why they've gotten hot? We go from that to all things Dodger baseball. Topic, John?
Yeah, juggling act, Lee. Here, looking for answers. What's Dave Roberts going to do?
Well, they're playing a little bit better, thank you. That's because the Colorado Rockies are on the schedule. Here come the Pittsburgh Pirates. So maybe they get it all back into gear. But Dave Roberts has not been a happy guy. I mean, early this week before the Colorado series, he went public. It's the first time he's ever been critical. He said they've given us 6 weeks of below standards baseball. Where's the urgency? We need to value every pitch. This is not our typical Dodger defense. We need to get home field advantage. He's obviously upset that they may have lost the tiebreaker already to the Milwaukee Brewers. So that's an issue, as Dave is trying to push the hot buttons right now. Now, in terms of your good headline there, John, juggling act, this is the latest on Ohtani. Ohtani has now thrown back-to-back bullpens, 34 and 35 pitches. Now, he'd gone 23 days without throwing. No problems with the knee, no problems with the bicep, and he threw the full array of his pitches in the last 2 bullpens. To the point, there's a tone of conversation within the Dodger front office that they're thinking of using Ohtani for opener status sometime in September to get him ready for the postseason, which would mean 1 or 2 innings at the start of a game, not use him for extended 5 or 6 inning starts, if you will, babysit him through quality starts to protect the knee, to protect the bicep. The other angle, maybe use him as a closer. 1 inning and that's all. Why? A, it protects him. B, they don't have Edwin Diaz. Now, so that's the Ohtani situation. In terms of the rest of the pitching, Blake Snell's had back-to-back good outings. Not dominant, but good outings. Tyler Glasnow last night, final appearance in Oklahoma City. Get this line, 5 1/3, no runs, 1 hit, 9 Ks. Glasnow's about to be activated. And of course, Skubal is Skubal. Emmett Sheehan's been called up. He's going to work strictly out of the bullpen. I think going forward, there's still a little bit of question in the month of September. Have you pushed Eric Lauer beyond his limit? How do you treat him? And what do you do with Wroblewski, who's currently on the disabled list with a little forearm weakness? Wroblewski, of course, has given up, I think it's now 11 home runs in his last, it might be 21 innings, so they haven't figured that out. And in terms of Diaz, he's on the disabled list. He's got a neck inflammation issue. He's been miserable Since they brought him off the DL, his ERA, John, is 15.88. They had to put him right back on the disabled list at this point, so we don't know about that. Will Smith is doing all baseball-related stuff for the first time this past week. No setback from the neck issue with the disc or the pinched nerve. He's catching, he's throwing to second base, and he's taking batting practice. No idea yet whether he's ready to be a 9-inning guy behind home plate or maybe just be a designated hitter. And they also got to determine what they're going to do with Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker, 0 for 24 at home. His batting average is down to 233 overall. He's just played miserable at home. They benched him at home. Now they get the Pirates starting tomorrow night back at Dodger Stadium. What are they going to do? He's hitting 189 on the season. He just does not look like the same player at all. So, John, a lot of bulletins, a lot of storylines there, as you'd say, your term, juggling act. That kind of covers Dodger baseball, led by the manager calling out his own players. Reaction?
Juggling act. I thought we were going to talk about Mark Walters' finances, moving stuff around. Are we going to? That's been the hot story with the Dodgers this weekly. Are you saving that for another part of this segment?
We can talk a little bit about it, but that is so deep financially. The day they taught finances at Ohio University, I cut class to go drinking uptown. And I've listened to your remarks about finances. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. It's very complicated. It's really deep in terms of transactions, money taken from one account to pay off something else. I think Walter's in big trouble. I don't know if the Dodgers are going to be sold, but obviously the sale of the Lakers, and now the report out of England that Mark Walters is also going to sell Chelsea from the English Premier League. I was told he's got to come up with $21 billion to cover for the transactions his Delaware companies made. But he's not yet been charged with anything. And initially I was told this is a bookkeeping situation, but it looks a lot deeper than that to me. But I don't think the Dodgers are going to be sold. At least that the Dodgers themselves don't think that their leadership is in any jeopardy at all. So that's where we are.
Well, it just seems to me that, with that TV contract, that's just too valuable of an asset. That's why I think Walter is selling, Chelsea and the Lakers and everything else. But it just was mind-blowing to me to know that the Dodger payroll and all those deferred salaries are like a liability on a balance sheet for a life insurance company. Your life insurance is like hanging on the edge of a precipice with this Dodger bankroll. Again, I don't know all the details, but as I'm learning more, I'm realizing, to your point, how complicated, what a tangled financial web that it is. But back to the team. Diaz wasn't right. He had to get straightened out. Do you think like with the Dodgers, it's just been like kind of a sudden drop, where they haven't been the Golden Boys. They've been struggling all summer. What do you pinpoint it on? Are they just getting too old, or, is there one guy in particular that's really slumping that has caused this whole thing to start? Well,
I think it's a valid question. Their batting order has not been what their batting order used to be. They're getting virtually nothing in the power department. Teoscar Hernandez has not had a really good season. That's an issue. You lose Will Smith, you lose rushing. That's a bunch more home runs. Mookie Betts, up until a week ago, was hitting 234. Now, he started to hit, and he started to hit with power. Max Muncy is hitting 214, occasional home runs there. Tommy Edman is not having a good statistical season. So I just think there's a compilation of a whole bunch of guys that they leaned on that got them big hits over the course of the last year and a half, just aren't there or not doing it consistently. And then you add in the equation is they probably squeezed about as much as they can out of Wroblewski. He's at an all-time high in terms of innings pitched, and he looks fatigued. And Lauer was a journeyman. Lauer gave him good starts early on. And the bullpen is just one injured guy after another. It's, it goes from Diaz to Trinan to Evan Phillips. They just have never been able to keep anybody healthy. So, and then you obviously add in what's happened to Ohtani, and it's taken forever to get Snell back. So maybe they all get healthy simultaneously, but I think that's my overall big picture answer as to why this team, John, at one point they were 15-21. This is Dodger baseball, 15-21, not playing very, very well. Now, we still have a month of the season, and then we go into the second season postseason, so maybe they're going to get everybody back hitting on all cylinders. I will ask you this, though. What direction do you want to go with Ohtani? Do you want him back in your rotation as a 5 to 6 inning starter once a week? Or would you rather prevent him from breaking down again and maybe just use him as an opener or use him only as a 1 inning closer, since I don't think you can trust Diaz at all?
You can't use him as a closer because you need to have him in the batting order every night. And what is he going to do when it's time to warm up? You know, if he's in the 8th inning, he's going to have to maybe bat and then run out from the dugout out back to the bullpen and warm up. Logistically, it doesn't make sense. That's why I think being an opener would make sense if you were going to use him that way. But, you know, this team, it's, you know, even Kyle Tucker, why in the hell did he sign with the LA Dodgers in Hollywood, Tinseltown? The guy can't handle the big stage, the big spotlight. I saw that flub of that ball that he had bounce off his glove in right field at Dodger Stadium. It's inexcusable. That guy's getting like $60 million a year.
Yes, he's a Scott Boras client, and the Dodgers bought the bill of goods. And now he's going to have to bear it. Because I could see, if this continues, I could see Dodger fans start to boo this guy at home.
They already are.
This guy is making a phenomenal amount of money and does not look like the player we saw in Houston a group of years ago, and even for spurts of time with the Chicago Cubs. I'm not even sure he's worth $60 million a year to be a 270 hitter who hits home runs, because now he's a 233 hitter and is not hitting it all at home. So, yeah, it makes no sense at all. He's low profile. He's behind the scenes. He's not a leader. There's no fire in his gut. I look at him, and I look at Betts. I look at him, and I look at Freeman. I look at him, and I look at Andy Pages. There's no comparison to his approach to the game compared to what these other guys bring to the plate or to the field. So we'll see. If he doesn't hit, I mean, the wrath of God, a.k.a. Dodger fans, is going to come down really hard on him because he's getting paid to produce.
The wrath of God.
Wearing blue.
But you're right. I mean, Dodger fans don't want to put up with anyone that, you know, can't handle the stage. You know, they expect to be dominant year in and year out. So they're going through a little bit of struggles, but I think they're only like a game or two away from being the number 1 seed in the National League. So if they get this thing straightened out, you know, they'll land on their feet, and they'll still be the boys in blue out there trying to win and have a three-peat. I think it's still going to happen.
Okay, looking for Dodger fans, looking for people who don't like Dodger blue, jump into fans forum. The chat box is open there. Angel baseball, a little bit of a spurt here. Season's lost, a little bit of a spurt. This should really be the mantra the last 5 to 6 weeks of this baseball season, John. Good headline there. Help wanted pitching. I mean, the Angels are on track for a 100-loss season. What they need to do between now and October 1st is take a look at every guy who gets DFA'd off somebody else's roster and maybe bring him in and put him in Salt Lake City and see over a month of starts whether they can find a gem. You can find guys, if you believe in your organization and your pitching leadership, they can work with these guys at the end of the season, work with these guys in the offseason. Now, I will say this, as wretched as the season as it's been, they got themselves some young pitchers that I think have really been competitive. Reed Detmers has really become a strong-arm guy on that rotation. He had an 11 strikeout outing last start. A month ago, he threw a one-hitter, had a no-hitter going into the end of the game. Walbert Urena, he's got a 2.87 ERA with very little run support. So there's some building blocks. Ryan Johnson. The young kid, Tyler Bremner, has now moved 3 levels. Started at A, is up at AA now. And then obviously, Yusei Kikuchi, he's had shoulder impingement. They're trying to bring him back. His first rehab outing was horrible. But again, he's under a multi-year contract. So I think there's chunks in the Angel rotation. But what they need to do is they need to go into the marketplace. And every team at this point is starting to DFA guys off their 40-man roster. Take a flyer on some of these guys, get them to Salt Lake City, work with them and see what they've got, and maybe you find somebody and go from there. You know, a prime example, ex-Dodger pitcher Tony Gonsolin just signed a free agent contract in Kansas City. No, Gonsolin was a back-end rotation guy, but John, in the postseason, he made a lot of critical starts with the Dodgers. Gonsolin's career record's 37-13. Why would you not take a flyer on him? Now, he was out and DFA'd by the Dodgers. He had a knee injury. He had recovered from his arm problem. He had a knee injury, which knocked him out for most of the season. That's the kind of guy you take a flyer on just to see if he's got anything left. So that would be my mandate. Help wanted pitching. Here's a phone number. Call one or two of these guys DFA'd and see if you can get them to Salt Lake City and see what they've got, because they got to stockpile numbers going forward to next year. Reaction?
Reaction. You want them to go dumpster diving, essentially.
Insurance policies.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just the Angels have no real assets. I mean, how are they even ranked as a minor league, program? I mean, do they have a lot of assets down in the minors that they can grow and nurture? Because you can go dumpster diving and maybe plug a few holes. Maybe you get lucky. Maybe you get a guy that, catches lightning in a bottle, but you can't really count on that as a strategy. So, the new GM, and by the way, it's Mozeliak. We were getting criticized by some of our followers on YouTube. Mozeliak is doing a hell of a job, and you just got to trust the process, if you're an Angel fan. But dumpster diving, I mean, at this point, it's, they're not going for the pennant race. Just let them try out the kids. Let's see what they've got.
Well, I think organizationally, they're starting to stockpile numbers. And I think that's what John Mozeliak has done. But at the end of the day, he has to go meet with Ori Moreno. And when I talk about next year's budget, give him the $55 million back in payroll that you didn't spend this year.
Yeah.
No explanation. Just give him the money. And obviously, you've got Anthony Rendon's contract. You're going to be able to get some more of that off the books. And then you go into the marketplace and you go get the right free agent that you can afford that's a proven commodity. But I think you can creatively find back end of the rotation guys if you work hard at it. So we'll see where this goes. Okay, that's all things Angel baseball. You're a Halo fan. Agree with my theory? Want to hear what you've got to say. Quickly, John, let's jump into the baseball notebook.
Yeah, we do. A little farewell to Tommy John.
Tell you what a special story. We talked about a week ago on this podcast. Tommy John has fought through some terrible health problems. He finally passed away at the age of 83. He's forever linked, obviously, with Dr. Frank Jobe for the experimental surgery they did to save his career. Tommy John had pitched for the Dodgers, injured his elbow while pitching for the Dodgers, underwent this experimental surgery. They transplanted a tendon from a cadaver, then transplanted an elbow ligament, and it saved his career. He won 164 games after the elbow surgery. Went on Dodgers, Yankees, White Sox, 288 career wins, phenomenal guy. He often joked about it, that the doctors said, hey, if we don't do surgery, you have no career. If we do surgery, it's 1,000 to 1 chance maybe you never ever pitch again. He said, let's do it. And then Tommy came back at a press conference and said, well, when I had the surgery, I asked him to give me Sandy Koufax's fastball. And he must not have heard me correctly. He gave me Mrs. Koufax's fastball. But Tommy John got by on guile. He got by on skill. He got by on dedication and motivation. The other factor, John, after his career was over, and 288 wins is nearly Hall of Fame statistics. But he and Dr. Jobe, they should probably be contributors to the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown because they changed the game and saved careers. But when his career was over, then he went into coaching, then he went into advising, and he went into helping players with mental health. And I did not know this story till I read an in-depth piece in the New York Times. His son committed suicide, and Tommy John committed his life to helping young people go through mental health things. And then he became an advocate through the Players Association to help young players, minor leaguers, that were going through mental health issues, whether it's culture, being away from home, family problems, etc. Because these kids come from all types of background. He was really a special human being. So Tommy John, who wrote a farewell letter when he was in hospice a week and a half ago, finally passes away, complications of cancer and a stroke. The other name you might not recognize, his name is Bill Rasmussen. He's the one that founded ESPN. He just passed away at the age of 93. I met him in Hartford, Connecticut. He was the voice of the New England Whalers when I was doing hockey for the Cleveland Crusaders. And anyhow, when the mergers occurred in the NHL and the WHA, a whole bunch of guys, myself included, got let go because we were WHA guys. Well, anyhow, the money he had stockpiled, he came up with this idea: I'm going to rent satellite time and I'm going to create a sports network. That was the foundation of what ESPN became. Initially, it was a cable channel in which they just did sportscasts. They had no play-by-play. And then they evolved it, and then the joke went around, oh, I can't wait to watch the next tractor pull, because that's all they had. They didn't have play-by-play rights. But he laid the foundation in Bristol, Connecticut, of ESPN and what it became. And now it's part of the fabric of sports, Americana, my viewing life, and your sports interests. So, unique guy. But he's the one who got the satellite time and came up with the idea, let's do this. We got to get fine programming. We have to get the play-by-play. Let's lay the groundwork and do it. And look where we are today with what ESPN's become. So, John, great picture. And man, oh man, Bill Rasmussen. Wow, what a great thinker.
Lee, I love how you follow, the sports media world and comment on it. And I think it's a neat part of the sports industry that doesn't get talked about as much as, as much as the players, but the people in the press are just huge. And this ESPN was such a massive innovation. I'd imagine that when you guys started Extra 690, being all sports on the West Coast, that must have been almost like creating ESPN on television, going 24/7 with sports. I mean, that was a radical idea back in the day.
Well, back in the day when I had my first meeting, I was working in Phoenix at that time at KTAR, and I thought I was going to be there forever. Voice of the Sun Devils, pioneered sports talk radio. We built a news talk station into an iconic signal and facility. And I got this phone call to come to San Diego and interview to be the voice of the Chargers and be the first piece of what would be an all-sports station, Extra 690. And again, I'd grown up and come through a news talk format. I'd never been on all sports. And I remember meeting with the ownership here, and we were just brainstorming ideas. And I said, you really think all sports 24 hours a day on radio is going to work? Well, I never thought about all the dynamics of the format. The dynamics of the format were you have to have a big signal, and we did 50,000 watts originally on Extra that became 77,000 watts because of the Mexican license. And you got to have quality play-by-play. Well, we had the Chargers. That would be the cornerstone. And then we added the Aztecs, and we added hockey and USC, etc. So, I never thought about the bigger picture. I just thought about sports talk 24 hours a day. You sure people listen to that? Forgetting from Baja to the Canadian Rockies in a blowtorch signal and quality play-by-play, which would attract it, and then the uniqueness of hiring what were great people. So what Bill Rasmussen did at ESPN kind of laid the groundwork on a national level to what we eventually did at the old 690. We're going to do a show on Sports Talk Radio in San Diego, Sports Talk Radio versus LA, coming up in a couple of weeks. I'll give you some details on that. But yeah, Rasmussen was just, you're talking about thinking outside the box. And he did, kind of like ownership here, when they put 690 on the air, they thought outside the box too. So that's the history, the background.
Yeah, I like the connection, to what you've done and you're accomplishing your career. But let's talk a little bit about Tommy John. And I know that my daughter tore her ACL in her knee, and then they were able to remove part of a tendon from her patellar tendon and then kind of sort of thread it through and create a new ACL. I know they've also gotten new ACLs from cadavers. So I'm curious about the strategy or the history or chronology of all this. If Frank Jobe and Tommy John kind of pioneered this in the 70s. I wonder if that led to revival of knees and revival of knee ligaments, because to your point, this is a huge part of the world of sports. And these guys, Tommy John and Frank Jobe absolutely should be in Cooperstown. And really, they should be in the Hall of Fames of almost every sport because of the way it's changed people's careers.
Well, I think the statistic that I read last week There are 53% of pitchers on major league rosters right now this season who've had some form of surgery, whether it's elbow or it's rotator cuff. I mean, it's amazing what sports medicine become, but this was pioneered totally as an experiment. They did not know whether the body would reject the tendon transplant or the ligament transplant. And it's not an easy road. You know, last month, you and I put a board up talking about, you know, the Walker Buehler, the Joe Musgrove, the Nick Pivetta comebacks from their forearm and elbow problems and how complicated it is. I called it the long, lonely road. There was no guarantee that this was ever going to work, but it did work. And the fact that this guy won 164 games after he had the first experimental surgery is absolutely phenomenal. Now, the guaranteed rate, yes, you can come back and pitch. There's no guarantee that you'll come back and be the pitcher you were, especially for the guys that throw lights out stuff. But he was crafty and he was different and he had guile and he became a great breaking ball pitcher. But I mean, special guy, special people. So, and again, now they've pioneered a different type of this type of surgery. They've pioneered where Job did transplant. Now they have this thing called brace surgery, in which you can come back in under 12 months. Normally, the Tommy John surgery was 12 to 18. And for a lot of guys who have bad tear, it's still 12 to 18. But there's a different type of elbow surgery now called brace surgery, and that's all of a spin-off there. And in terms of the knee ligament guys, Dr. James Andrews, because that based out of Birmingham, became the prototype surgeon in terms of knee ligament repairs, surgery, etc. And all the stuff that he pioneered for 10 and 20 years has now taken steps forward with an LA doctor, Dr. Neil Elatrache. And obviously, knee ligament damage is its preponderance of the injuries in the National Football League. So science has just made great advances based on what we learned from Dr. Job and obviously from Dr. Andrews.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff. The science of sports, Lee.
Okay, you got a comment about Tommy John and memories? Man, that was a special individual. We go to halftime. This podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 8 locations to serve you in San Diego. You got projects, they've got ideas. You want materials, they could be your best friend and be your consultant. John, they check off a lot of different boxes at DIXIELINE. What do you want to talk about?
You know, one of the great things about DIXIELINE is they always have smoking deals. Like every month or so, they come out with their home catalog, and it's published, you know, in print, but also on their website. If you go to DIXIELINE.com in the special offers section, they produce their monthly circular, and you'll see like when the big brands like Milwaukee or DeWalt are having big sales, they're going to be advertised there. A lot of times you're going to see a lot of sale items for replacement door and windows at special prices from Simonton, from Anderson, from Milgard. So, you know, DIXIELINE offers a lot of those great deals in conjunction with a lot of rebates and special offers and promotions that come from those manufacturers. So if you got a big project plan, maybe you're building a granny flat in the backyard, or you're just going to be, you know, doing an addition on your home, or even maybe you just want to replace your doors and windows. You want to get something that's high quality at a really attractive price. Go to DIXIELINE.com and look in that special offer section for the monthly circular.
DIXIELINE, they serve you lots of ways, been in business for more than 100 years in San Diego. We are at halftime. Good to be back. And again, full disclosure, if you did not hear our opening, you know, John and I have been together yelling at each other for the last 4 years. We've never missed a podcast till this past Monday, but that had to happen. John's in the middle of moving to a new house, and we've fought through equipment failure, computer failures, power failure at my end. It was FUBAR. But John, we got through it. We only lost one podcast over the 4 years we've been together because of technical problems, so we're back.
Yeah, but it's really more logistical than technical, at least this Monday.
Yeah, it was all on you. But
yeah.
At the end of the day, this guy has the audacity to move into this new castle. It's beautiful. Ocean view, unbelievable. And he has the audacity to send me a text, kicking back, drinking the bottle of Merlot I bought him as a congratulatory gift on the move, kicking back, overlooking onto the Pacific Ocean with palm trees, and telling me it's 76 degrees where I am right now in my new castle. In my driveway, it's 101 degrees. How about that? For chutzpah.
I'm living the life of Riley, right?
Oh, life of Riley. There you go.
But we downsized, Lee. We went from the big house. The kids have left the nest. We got a condo by the beach. But what's cool about this place, I'm starting to reconfigure my podcast studio in the condo. But we're going to do something on the roof of this building because it's got a killer view of like the Oceanside Pier area. And so, we have an opportunity to do some fun stuff, Lee. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I just wanted people to know what we've gone through because people would email and text and say, where's your podcast? Well, we missed Monday because we had all kinds of technical snafus, and this guy was trying to get his stuff moved over to the coast. He's there in his new castle. And we're off and running. Just a couple of other notes. When we're done, because we put topics on the table and we do sports talk the way it should be done, when we're done with our opinions, you take over this podcast. John, it's called Fans Forum. You're going to invite everybody over to your condo who's on Fans Forum. Did I hear that?
I didn't say that. You're already volunteering me to buy drinks for everyone. We haven't heard that in a bit. Hey, people are already jumping on board. And Lee, you didn't break the news. I mean, people are breaking the news in the live chat in Fans Forum. It's your birthday. Happy birthday, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton.
Not bad for an old dog. I'm getting all these responses from people that, yes, it is my birthday. And I got people out of town, out of the country calling me and giving me crap and people not paying attention to the time zone. I get phone calls at 4:30 in the morning, San Diego time, from people where it's in the afternoon over in England. So it's been great. Thank you very much. It is my birthday. Anyhow, when we're done, John, we got an opportunity for people to check all the things I write about on my website, LeeHacksawHamilton.com, best 15 minutes in sports, my one man's opinion column, and your chance to join Hacksaw's Insiders Group. Either you want to be affiliated with me or maybe you want to be affiliated with the Life of Riley. You can join the Insiders Group, which means you're going to get 2 newsletters a day. I don't know anybody that's giving away free material, free, but you get 2 newsletters per day. Just fill out the box, get on the email list for that. I want you to help us grow this podcast. Give us a thumbs up, hit the follow button, and on Apple, give us a 5-star rating. Follow me on Twitter so you can participate in Hacksaw's mini polls on X. Just type in my name, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, hit the follow button there. John, I'm ready for the second half. We talked a lot of baseball. We're talking NFL football.
Yeah, the preseason. You said the Rams and Chargers look good. Do you have some letter grades for us, Lee?
Yeah, let's just start about where we are with the Rams and the Bolts. I'll tell you what, the Rams rookie quarterback last weekend, Tyler Simpson, that was pretty impressive. He went 21 of 25 for 190. He strong-armed the ball. He went through his progressions. His timing was special. Kind of ripped apart all the backup players wearing Kansas City Chief uniforms. You know, they're looking for not only a backup quarterback, and Tyler Simpson and Stetson Bennett are competing for that, but they're looking for a wide receiver. And one of their younger guys, Xavier Smith, who's been there parts of 2 seasons, another guy, Brennan Presley, between them had 8 receptions. So that was a step in the right direction. So we'll see what the Rams do with their second preseason game. But Tyler Simpson was really impressive. We're also waiting on a decision from Aaron Donald, and they've let him go through his workouts in private. He's had 2 workouts in front of the coaching staffs now. It's been very impressive. He hasn't told them yet what his plan is, but they need to make a decision soon because they only have a couple weeks left of preseason camp. And if Aaron Donald is going to participate at the start of the season opening day, he's probably got to get on the field, get into some contact, and get into the regimen of being football body ready. Workout ready is one, but actual hitting and all that. So I would assume we're going to know pretty quickly early this week. So that's all things Rams. They look really good. Puka Nacua, he's got this groin injury that's flared. He's not going to play again this weekend, so that'll be the second game that he has missed, but they don't think it's a serious situation. In terms of the Chargers, all kinds of things I'll throw at you real briefly. Chargers, by the way, play tonight against the 49ers. The big storyline with the Chargers, the unveiling of the offense, Mike McDaniel's X's and O's, the high-octane offense. It was kind of impressive behind the backup quarterback, Trey Lance. Very impressive was Keandre Lambert Smith, he wound up catching 4 chunk play receptions, tight ends look good, etc. The bad news with the Chargers, and it happened this week, they lost their starting center. And that to me is a terrible blow for them to wind up losing their starting center, Taylor Biabaz. He went down, he got rolled into by a 49er defensive lineman. The worst part of the injury, it looks like it's a severe ligament injury, and there may be implications of meniscus or bone damage. It looks like he's gone for a large chunk of the season. The worst part of this, the guy that hit him got thrown into him by a Charger offensive guard. Caillou Awosika, who was battling for the left guard spot, grabbed the 49er guy at the end of the play and threw him across the field right into the quarterback and right into, I should say, the starting center. And Biadasz went down like a piece of lumber. It was a terrible looking injury. What it creates now is a crisis in the offensive line because the 2 centers on the depth chart beyond the veteran who came from the Washington Commanders, Biadasz, are Jake Slaughter, rookie, Jacob Spomer, rookie. Neither one has played a snap in anger in the NFL. Now, Slaughter played really well in the first preseason game. He started the game as center, and then at halftime he moved over to left guard, and he played really well. Now, he's got to go back to center. And there are really no quality guys out there on the waiver wire at this point in time. So are the Chargers going to be able to open the season with Slaughter and Spomer, 2 untested rookies as the starting center in front of the quarterback? So that remains to be seen. It was a terrible injury. In terms of Justin Herbert, he looked pretty good against the 49ers, and that was live fire action. They ran full speed. He threw some interceptions. He got chased a little bit. But boy, Mike McDaniel just praising him, saying this guy's got special wiring. We expect year 2 results from him, even though it'll be year 1 in this brand new playbook. They're very impressed with him. But, the shine of all things in this Charger camp, John, kind of been taken off by what happened to Biadasz, the center, and what I thought was a terrible incident. If that had happened during a game, they would have flagged the Charger offensive guard for over-aggressiveness. And in this case, this guy hit his quarterback he took the 49er guy and threw him across the line of scrimmage right into the quarterback and chopped the offensive center down. It's terrible, terrible injury. So, John, that's my summary on the Rams, my summary on the Chargers. I'd like to hear what the fans have got to say, but go ahead, John, respond.
Well, first of all, I blame Dean Spanos. It's just wherever he goes, man, this team is cursed. And what a blow. After last year, missing your 2 bookend tackles, and now the center's gone. Justin Herbert's going to be scrambling for his life again. And Jim Harbaugh is stroking him, saying Harbaugh is like the second coming of Jesus Christ. But a lot of people have been critical of Justin Herbert because he's never won in the playoffs. They're questioning of whether or not he is a top tier quarterback. What do you think, Lee?
I think he is a top tier quarterback. That's been an organizational failure. That's not been on Justin Herbert. He's done everything he can do to win games, and he's played through 5 injuries in 2 years and stayed on the field for the most part. I don't know if you've seen the video of the hit on Biadasz. You ought to see the video, how ugly it is. And, if it had been anybody else, the Chargers would probably cut that guy that night. Yeah. But this would be your starting left guard, and he did this, and it badly hurt a teammate. Oh, it was a terrible, cheap shot. And I'm surprised nobody in LA's written about it. Nobody's talking about it. How could that be? So I felt really bad for Biadasz because he signed a 3-year big money contract. He's a rock solid veteran, and he's gone. And we don't know the full determination. We'll probably know by the weekend as to how severe this injury is. But I've never seen somebody get hit from behind at the lower extremities and get buckled backwards the way he did. It was just painful to watch. And the Rams, what do you think about the Rams?
How does Aaron Donald, how did they not know Aaron Donald's intent? It seems it's obvious that he wants to play again. The only question is how quickly can he get into football shape? So I don't know. It just seems like some of the propaganda coming out of Inglewood, coming out of LA Rams headquarters doesn't seem honest or truthful. What do you think, Lee?
They said they're giving Aaron Donald all the time he wants to make the decision. Now they've had that luxury through the OTA since they made the Myles Garrett trade to where they are in preseason. But once we get beyond this weekend's games, John, then you're on the clock. You got one preseason game, and then you got that last week where everybody gets a bye in preparation. So he needs to make his decision. And if he's going to play, he has to actually get in camp, get in pads, and hit. That's a different style of preparation than just doing at the fitness center. So I think the decision's coming pretty soon, and I think he's going to play. Now the question is, when he's ready to play, will it be strictly as a third down pass rush specialist, or is he the warrior going to want to play at age 35 every snap he can play? And he's got to be in rugged condition to be able to do that. Okay, that's Rams, that's Chargers, and that's the Fans Forum chat box is open to give you an opportunity. We go from that, NFL Notebook. Holy cow, we got stories everywhere, John.
Yeah, someone in trouble in Seattle?
Let's just talk about this because we've talked in the past about the NFL allowing all these guys who've been arrested on a wide variety of bad crimes to go to camp and sign contracts and have still not yet been disciplined. Well, Terrion Arnold, the Detroit Lions #1 pick, who was arrested on 8 different felonies for a kidnapping, pistol whipping incident that he supposedly oversaw. He's out on $1 million bond, and the league did not discipline him. Now, he was a free agent, but the league could have put him on the commissioner's reserve list and say he's not eligible to be signed or to go to anybody's camp until this thing is adjudicated. 8 felonies is really severe stuff. Anyhow, Seattle met with him, offered him a contract, and promptly the NFL told the Seahawks, if you sign him, you will be on the hook for the signing bonus and a salary cap number, and he's not going to be in your camp because we will automatically put him on the reserve list of the commissioner, which means he can't practice, he can't play. At that point, Seattle backed off signing him. It was really interesting. Mike McDonald, the coach, his Monday press briefing was not about wins or losses of the preseason game they'd just played. It was about Terrion Arnold. And he went public and said, this was a serious issue. We trust the legal process. We interviewed that player. We interviewed people around that player, other club officials, other teammates who vouched for him. We had 2 meetings with Terrion Arnold to get an explanation. He'd indicated he'd be the best version of himself going forward. We firmly believe in second chances, but this may have been a very serious mistake. But at the end of the day, as soon as Roger Goodell informed the Seahawks, if you sign him, he counts against your cap, and he will not be allowed in your camp. So that's where we are with that situation. The next story involves Brian Flores' case, the racial discrimination lawsuit, which is going to trial against the NFL. Well, in the course of discovery, lawyers have unearthed a letter from a consulting firm the NFL hired, Korn Ferry, that helped guide clubs as to how to conduct interviews with coaching candidates, including minority coaching candidates. And the report that's leaked out is this Korn Ferry letter is a smoking gun. And all I can ascertain, John, and I canvassed a couple of NFL people about this in my email networks, all I can ascertain is that letter probably contains language about how to interview first-time minority candidates and how to interview veteran minority candidates who might have had jobs somewhere else and failed at those jobs. That's the only thing I can ascertain, but what's being reported is that this letter recommending what to do, not to do with minority candidates is a smoking gun. It's going to help Brian Flores. So that's really an interesting story. Dateline is Dallas Cowboys. Trying to fix that defense, which was woeful. They got the best player in the draft defensively, and Caleb Downs out of Ohio State. They've drafted a whole bunch of young guys defensively 2 years in a row. They just signed Von Miller, 138 quarterback sacks, legendary Denver Bronco. He's coming in as a pass rush specialist. New York Football Giants looking for depth at running back. they've just signed Najee Harris, former Steeler, former Charger running back. He's got great credentials, missed last year with an Achilles. He's been very impressive in workouts and in camp. And the Indianapolis Colts, guess who they signed? Very reliable. Keenan Allen, legendary Charger wide receiver. Bolts didn't bring him back. Keenan Allen caught 81 passes last year. He's a route runner, tough guy, very disciplined. That's got to help the Colts wide receiver group. Last week, the debut of the Philadelphia Eagles' new playbook with the new offensive coordinator, Sean Mannion. Ooh, I need a do-over. Philadelphia threw for 83 yards last week with the new playbook. A lot of work to be done in Philadelphia. And in terms of Cleveland, last week it was Deshaun Watson's turn to be starting quarterback. Sometimes he looked okay, other times he did not. He fumbled the ball. This week, Cleveland plays Buffalo. Shedeur Sanders, you will be the starting quarterback. Shedeur was hot and cold in the last outing. Now he's going to go against Buffalo's number one defense. Shedeur threw a really bad interception. So, John, awful lot there in the NFL notebook, obviously starting with the Seahawks and the decision to back away from Terry and Arnold, going to the Brian Flores smoking gun letter, the discovery what the lawyers have uncovered. Go ahead, take it from there.
I generally like the idea of giving guys a second chance, but, sometimes you can't do that, So, yeah, Seattle's going to have a tough call there, with Terry and Arnold deal. But the thing that really caught my attention in this whole lineup was the Brian Flores story. And I'm on record as saying, I think, we have evolved beyond the Rooney Rule. I don't think we need a Rooney Rule anymore, assuming that all of the guys that are on the other end of the desk that are doing the interviewing are rational people that aren't going to be, racist in their views, which is a big assumption. But the fact that there is a memo going around with specific questions or guidelines on how to interview a minority head coaching candidate versus a non-minority candidate, it just becomes absurd at a certain point. I don't think people like, I don't think anybody needs to be treated differently one way or the other. Just go on like Brian Flores's background, his skill set, his experience, his results. That's what the whole, interview should be about, in addition to what your vision is. But we just get so taken off track with all this political correctness.
Well, I think the shocker now to the Flores case, because this thing just continues to evolve, is the report a month ago. There are now 21 former minority coaches in the league, John, who are going to testify about their experiences in interview processes, in addition to Brian Flores and the two other black head coaches who lost their job that are also stapled in to be part of this lawsuit. So that's where we are. We'll see where this goes. The letter they got in discovery has been sealed by the judge at this point. We don't know the specifics, but that's what was insinuated to me about this Korn Ferry consultant group. This is how you should do this. Wow. So we'll see where that goes. Okay, that's all things National Football League. Feel free, jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open. You ready to talk college football? We're a week away from week 0, John.
Yeah, your buddy Sean Lewis. How was the red and black scrimmage, Lee?
Pretty impressive, I think, offensively. And then it was kind of unique defensively. So far, they're staying free of injury, which is critical. Jaden Denegal in the red-black scrimmage, 11 for 13, 83 yards. The transfer quarterback Stone Saunders from Kentucky, 9 of 18, 96 yards. I think the unique guy to pay attention to will be Bert Emanuel. Remember him? Backup quarterback, transfer, Michigan State. Pseudo quarterback, pseudo running back, pseudo tight end. He caught a bunch of passes in the scrimmage. Nathan Acevedo, who really had a good second half last season, did. Carson Deal, who's a true freshman, did. Now, Jordan Napier did not participate. Bostic did not participate. Justin Lowe, the Oregon transfer, did not. All those guys recovering from injuries, but they should be their opening week 2 weeks from now. So I think they made some progress. On the defensive side of the ball, I don't know what to tell you about the statistics, because they had 9 quarterback sacks, the defense did. They had 11 tackles for losses, but I think the bulk of that probably came when these guys were playing against the backups and the scrubs, etc. But I will tell you, a couple of transfers kind of stood out, and they really need them to stand out because they're looking for starters. Gavin Lightfoot, who's a kind of wide-body defensive tackle, transfer in from Colorado, has got 1 year left. Nose tackle, he played well. Kai Wallen, a pass rush defensive end, stand-up backer from Oregon State, he played well. Young linebacker Jeremiah Lewis, transfer cornerback Mike Lindsay, I think he's from Idaho, he played well. And Javian Kennard, who's kind of a third down back, dart and dash guy, can return kicks. I think he came out of Colorado State. He played well. So I think the offensive side of Aztec football looks solid, and they got some young guys who stepped up. Now, I don't know if they have depth. They got 15 transfers in. They're looking for 8 starters on defense. So depth is going to be an issue, but they got a lot of work to do defensively, but they got 2 more weeks before they get ready to play Portland State. So that's my red and black report.
Yeah. All right. We got football to talk about. This is great, Lee. I saw one of the local news stations had, some of the fans were there at the game or the scrimmage, I should say. And the players are walking out on the field and, all the hardcore Aztec fans are there for them, representing the team, supporting the team. Probably should have seen Aztec Mike out there with them. But I think this is awesome. And I agree with you. The Bert Emanuel, he caught some passes last year near the end of the season. And, we've seen him as a quarterback just taking the ball and running. He has got elite speed and long strides. I mean, if that guy touches the ball, man, it's like a quick 6.
I think the most unique thing, and I'll just project this going forward. As a quarterback, he was shaky throwing the football. He's always been that. As an athlete, as a wide receiver, he's dangerous in coverage because there's physical mismatches. I think you're going to see him in a wildcat formation. I don't know whether that'll be down on the goal line, but I think you're going to see him as a third down wildcat quarterback who probably can run the football. So it'd be fascinating to see how they use him. I do think the offense, because it's got experience and it's got depth, it's got numbers. This is the deepest group of wide receivers, John, I think they've had in a long period of time. And Denegal looks healthy and Denegal looks sharp. I think offensively, I think they're going to be fun to watch. Defensively, I don't know if they're going to be able to stop people. We'll just see how many of these transfers step in. And
how about Lucky Sutton? Lucky Sutton's getting some preseason love from the media.
Close to 1,300 yards last season, of course. And they're going to try to throw to him out of the backfield. And, of course, the Kennard kid has got the ability to catch and run. He's not an every down power back. So, no, I just think that they've got an awful lot of talent there, at least on the offensive side of the football. Okay, that's all things offense. That's all things Aztecs. Jump on board. We go from that. Got news and notes around the NBA. What a week. Wow.
Lawsuits and showdowns.
Man, this stole the thunder from everybody. We're talking about the Lakers and the shocking sale, followed 24 hours later by what's happened with Jeannie Buss. At the end of the day, Mark, the head of the Lakers, puts a franchise up for sale after owning it for just 11 months. This is all part of the terrible fundraising issue that obviously has to occur. The family then, led by 5 siblings of Jeannie Buss, announced days after they're putting their 17% stock of the trust into the pool to sell it also to Bob Iger and to Josh Kushner. Jeannie Buss' lawyer promptly sounds off and says, you can't do that. She's the head of the trust group. But the lawyers are now fighting back and forth, saying, we only needed 4 of the 6 Buss kids to approve it. 5 of the 6 voted for it. They can sell this, and she's out. So we've not heard the end of this, but this is just shocking what's transpired in terms of the Lakers' sale of the franchise and then what's happened to Jeannie Buss. That's item 1. The second item is where we are with the LA Clippers salary cap investigation with the NBA league office. It's been reported widely. The league has not commented on it. It's being reported. The league has gone through an 11-month investigation, and they can find no evidence that Steve Ballmer transferred any money to Kawhi Leonard, which would be a salary cap violation. However, they have found evidence that Ballmer put Kawhi Leonard in contact with 4 different business groups that did business with Ballmer and the Intuit Dome and introduced him. Now, Ballmer's of the opinion I had no knowledge whether there were side deals, financial deals, endorsement deals, etc. But it's obvious Kawhi Leonard got money from Aspiration, that he evidently tried to get money from a second group, Daktronics, that does video scoreboards. And now there's data that there was a cell phone company they did an endorsement deal to. Ballmer's of the opinion he had no idea. The league is investigating whether or not Ballmer violated a bylaw by introducing the player to corporate sponsors, which could lead to deals that are salary cap circumvention. But now there's another problem. I mean, Ballmer has gone nuclear. Ballmer's lawyers say if you sanction the owner or you sanction this team, strip them of money and draft picks, we're going to file a lawsuit and a grievance against you. You can't do that. And Kawhi Leonard, through the union, says, show me in the CBA where there's any language that prevents a player from meeting corporate sponsors. You have no right to take sanctions against Kawhi Leonard. So the NBA, I think, is really backed into a corner over the fine print. If nothing happens, geez, it kind of smacks as a whitewash. If something happens, does it happen to Kawhi? Or does it happen to Ballmer? Because it happened on his watch, and he's the one that made the introductions. Speaking of the Clippers, off the court, really interesting week. Clippers re-sign veteran guard Brad Beal. They continue to add unique veteran players. And then last night, they were involved in a 4-team trade. We knew there were rumors there was a deal coming. We didn't think it would involve the Clippers, Cavaliers, Denver, and Washington. But last night, the Cleveland Cavaliers worked a 4-team deal in which they got shooting forward Peyton Watson, big producer, from Denver, along with Cam Whitmore, a guard from Washington. Denver, which could not keep Peyton Watson because of cap problems, gets a first and a second round pick. The Clippers get Max Strus, shooting guard. He comes from the Cavaliers in the transaction. Washington gets veteran guard Trey Mann and a second-round draft pick. So very busy night. Clippers doing a lot of things to change the whole scope of their roster. And, of course, there's another change coming because that Kawhi Leonard to Toronto trade for Brandon Ingram, that's got to be finalized still. So that's all things there in the NBA. And the last tidbit has to do with the Dallas Mavericks. Got 2 stories here for you, John. One involves the new coach, Dusty May, who out of the clear blue sky quit at Michigan and took, almost by surprise, the Dallas Mavericks coaching job. Well, he finally opened up to the media this week, and he said, I left Michigan because the NCAA totally failed in terms of solving everything that's wrong with college basketball. And that obviously has to do with the NIL, the transfer portal governance, if you will. He said, that's why I'm in the NBA, because of what happened at the NCAA level. And the other story is the Dallas Mavericks said goodbye to legendary coach. I mean, he was a phenomenal guy, and Don Nelson. And I'll tell you, the salute to life was funny. It was amazing. They had all types of people speak, led by Greg Popovich, led by Dirk Nowitzki, led by Stevie Nash. And they talked about the history of Don Nelson, what made him tick, the stuff he did in practice, the stuff he did games, the stuff he did in back rooms. He talked about his ability to motivate, and he talked about his irreverence towards everybody who was not part of his team. He said it was unbelievable. So, John, you start with the Lakers. What do you believe? What don't you understand? Take me to the Clippers. Who's got blood on their hands for this? We'll talk about the blockbuster trade and all things Dallas.
Well, as far as the Lakers go, I mean, Jeannie Buss, That's her ticket to relevancy, to the paparazzi, to TMZ. Is she's not president of the Lakers, and what is Jeannie Buss? So I think that's the problem there. It's the end of an era, but the whole Mark Walter thing has just turned into just a disaster. Seeing all these pieces being sold off, I just kind of wonder what's going to happen with the Dodgers. But as far as the Kawhi Leonard thing, Lee, that storyline that it was just an introduction, and I by the way, I agree. If a owner introduces a player to a potential sponsor, that's just an intro. It's not like you're necessarily laundering money. But if in this case, though, I think the story is it's a lot more than that, Lee. I think the NBA was disputing this innocent story and this playing the victim card of Steve Ballmer. I think there's more to it than I think more information's coming.
I think the shocker to me, there are whistleblowers all over the place. People that work for Daktronics, people that work for the cell phone company, people that worked at the Intuit Dome who are being paid by Ballmer. These whistleblowers have said this happened, that happened. We joked about it. There's paperwork out there. There's some letterheads out there. So I don't know what's fact or fiction, but man, this is really ugly. But now you got everybody's going to lawyer up, and we're in the CBA. This is what the union is saying. We're in the CBA. Does it say Kawhi Leonard does not have a right to talk to corporate sponsors? And now, if he's taken pay for no show jobs, that's an issue.
Then that's a sham. Yeah, then that's fraudulent. But it is interesting. You wonder if it's happening with the Clippers, is it happening throughout the NBA? Is it even happening in other sports? I mean, like, for example, remember when Tom Brady, during his final years with the team, he was playing for a big discount. I can't remember what the dollar figure was, because he was taking one for the team so that they could, recruit and sign these really good free agents. But maybe, do you think Tom Brady was getting a little bit of money on the side? It just seems like there's so much money in these sports that there can be sort of a wink, wink, nod, nod, to between a sponsor and an owner. Hey, you don't need to pay them all that money. We got you. We'll take care of it.
Well, the only thing, John, is there's precedent. A group of years ago, the Minnesota Timberwolves tried to do a sidebar deal with a power forward by the name of Joe Smith, and they got caught, and it was salary cap violations. And they took 5 number 1 draft picks from Minnesota, crippled the franchise. They fined him $7.5 million, and they expelled the owner, Glenn Taylor, for 1 full year, and they fired the general manager. So there is precedent that if you do this, if you break this is what's going to happen. Now, Ballmer is of the opinion, yes, I introduced Kawhi through a request from his agent and his handler to corporate sponsors. But there's nothing in the collective bargaining agreement that says they can't do that. Yeah. And that's why the union is involved. So lawyer up. This thing's still got a way to go. What'd you think of the 3-way trade, or the 4-team trade that put that big shooting forward in Cleveland? Boy, Cleveland looks like an unbelievably explosive team right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much going on with these trades. I mean, to be honest with you, I've been moving from one house to another. The details of that 4-player trade, I didn't follow it.
Well, Peyton Watson's a hell of a player. Denver's in big trouble. Denver suddenly got the Joker and injured players, and they still have massive salary cap problem. For them not to get talent as a byproduct of this Peyton Watson trade to the Cavaliers, Denver fan ought to really be upset at what the Nuggets have deteriorated into. Okay, you're a basketball fan. What do you believe? With apologies in advance, and I like Jeannie Buss, and I've interviewed Jeannie Buss in the past. Jeannie, you're not Jerry. This franchise has not had great success under your guidance. Give it up. And the Clippers, I don't know who's right, who's wrong. I hope this doesn't turn out to be a whitewash, because the league really looks bad. Who do you think's the bad person in this Clipper situation? Ballmer? Kawhi Leonard? What do you think? Jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open. We go from basketball. Hockey hotline is open, John.
Injuries and unhappiness around the league.
We have talked extensively about the Anaheim Ducks off-season, the purge of at least 7 players off their roster, Pat Verbeek's mishandling of the salary cap, how he got put against the wall, how he had to match the contract offer to Leo Carlsson at $18 million, which created chaos now He's got 3 veteran players they may have to trade, which are going to strip away all the veteran experience on what's left on that roster. He offered Cutter Gauthier, their 41-goal scoring young star, a contract extension this week, John. 4 years, $52 million. That's $13 million average salary. Not bad, but it's not $18 million that you gave Leo Carlsson because you screwed up the first set of negotiations. Gauthier said, no, I'm not taking $13 million a year. And the agent, obviously, with the leading scorer in a team, has got a right to ask for more money. So this is a messy situation. Florida Panthers, boy, they've been a legendary franchise, but a lot of age and a lot of injury. You know, they had problems with the Kachuk injury. Now they got problems with Brad Marchand. He underwent hip surgery. Marchand is going to miss the start of the season and a chunk of the beginning of the season. Florida's got a lot of mileage, a lot of star players, a lot of players tied up with big money contracts who are ailing. And another setback in Vancouver, which is in the middle of a rebuild. Thatcher Demko, who's from San Diego, the star goaltender, he's really struggled with knee and hip problems. He's had a setback from hip surgery he had last season. He does not look like he's going to be ready to go to camp. And in Detroit, wow, take a number, stand in line. I'm not happy. You know, Detroit fired its general manager, Stevie Yzerman. Dylan Larkin, their captain, is asked to be traded. Now they got problems with Alex DeBrincat, one of their young goal scorers who doesn't want to be there. And now they got problems with another one of their players who's a restricted free agent, Simon Devinson. He's turned down their contract offer. Boy, they got a mess there in Detroit, and they don't have a general manager. How can you be in August with camps opening the second week of September and not have a GM in place? Mess. And in Edmonton, well, they hired Mike Babcock, very controversial guy as head coach. The players, after spending this offseason in meetings with Babcock, have stood front and center united. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and Zach Hyman have all gone public and told the media, quit criticizing Mike Babcock. Let us see what his program, his philosophy is like. Let him put it in place. We believe we're going to be a different style hockey team because of who the new leader is on this team. In essence, they've told the media to shut the bleep up. So, John, go ahead. You drink beer. So you got to be a Ducks fan, Oilers fan. I mean, we talk hockey hotline all the time. Pick a story here, comment.
Yeah, a lot of drama out there in the offseason in the NHL. I have a question, though. The Detroit Red Wings, they play in, isn't it Joe Louis Arena? Is that where they're still playing?
Used to be. Yeah, that's the old arena. That's a long time gone.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, brand new corporate. Everybody's in brand new arenas, corporate, etc.
Now, I just trying to think back. I mean, was Joe Louis from Detroit? Is that why the arena used to have his name?
Yes, very much so. And they played in a place called the Olympia, which preceded Joe Louis Arena.
Yeah, so I went to downtown Detroit. It was probably about, 20 years ago, and went to a ball game at Comerica Field.
Sure.
And then right across the street, literally, was Ford Field where the Lions play. And then Joe Louis Arena was just down the street. I mean, they have like a pretty cool little sports downtown in Detroit.
They do, but everything around inner city Detroit's not very good. If you walk 2 blocks from, and I've been where you're talking about, you walk 2 blocks from Ford Field, it's not very good neighborhoods. Now, different parts of Michigan are absolutely phenomenal. You go east, it's absolutely Grosse Pointe. I mean, it's money. I mean, it's old money, it's new money, etc. You go to western Michigan, Kalamazoo's a great city. You go way north, the state of Michigan's really pretty. Upper Peninsula is like a different civilization, but the inner city of Detroit, that's a tough set of circumstances because it's old and it's decayed. Not everywhere, but it's just not what it used to be for certain. But they love the Tigers, love the Lions, the Red Wings. They've all had good years, they've all had bad years. And of course, the Pistons are all part of that equation too.
The Pistons, by the way, that's one of the great, mascot names in the world of sports. It perfectly fits the city.
Yeah, well, the auto industry. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's all things hockey. Hockey hotline's open. If there's somebody out there who wants to talk puck, feel free. Last topic on the table. Wow, we're talking golf.
Yeah, and Jim Nantz at the top.
Yeah, let's talk about what's happening. The PGA Tour is in the midst of their big money playoffs. The BMW championships are taking place at this hour in St. Louis. LIV is on its last legs. In fact, I wrote a column yesterday on my website about the future of live golf and what's happened. Well, they held press conferences yesterday and today in St. Louis on the PGA Tour, and everybody was asked, from Jim Nantz to the guys on the tour, their reaction to what's happening across the street with LIV. First of all, let me give you the headlines with LIV Golf. This is the final tournament this weekend. They've reduced the purse for the final event in Indiana by $10 million. They canceled next week's $40 million team championship in Michigan. LIV has been hit by lawsuits of $1 million and $1.2 million by two companies who are unpaid vendors that say LIV is welched on all the money that they're owed. They owe Jon Rahm $100 million in bonus money that's yet to be paid. Bryson DeChambeau becomes a free agent this Monday. No progress in getting him signed. And they've lost one of their veteran European golfers. Tyrrell Hatton says he is leaving. His contract is up. He's applied to play on the European Tour. In addition, LIV has laid off notices to LIV officials in different corporate offices and has started terminating vendors' contracts for different past golf tournaments. And they said if they play next year, they're cutting the schedule in half. They'll have 10 events, 5 of them international, 5 of them in the USA. So on this street corner, John, there's all kinds of financial issues with players who might not want to be there any longer, who are going to be asked to give back money, take pay cuts, etc., or in some case owed money that has not been paid. You got that. Then on the other side, this week, everybody asked questions to the PGA guys in St. Louis about what's happening over there at the LIV. Jim Nantz for CVS says, PGA Tour has thrived without these guys who took the money and went abroad. He said, the PGA thrives on its integrity, insinuating what those guys did who violated their tour card to take blood money to go to Saudi Arabia. Scotty Scheffler reiterated, there must be penalties, there must be consequences for those guys who left. Rory McIlroy says, okay, they've had 4 years. What value did any of those guys bring to professional golf when they jumped, took the money, and run? Brooks Koepka, who came back to the tour this year, had a disastrous season, said he was humbled by the experience. So that's where we are. LIV, final tournament. Anybody paying any attention? And the mess with all the money and the players, and the guys on the PGA Tour, John, almost being unforgiving to what the Phil Mickelsons, the Dustin Johnsons, the Jon Rahms did. Your reaction?
Yeah, well, the old PGA guys got to get over themselves. Yeah, make them pay a little penalty, but let's just get them all back. You know, let's invite everybody back inside the Big Ten, you know, rather than having 2 different tents here. So I think this is good that one of these, sanctioning organizations is crumbling. And so we'll get all the boys back together. But what about Jim Nantz? I mean, that guy, just what a dude. I mean, his voice is so baked into the brand of PGA golf and just everything about him, how he presents himself. I mean, he's the perfect spokesman for the league, don't you think, Lee?
Well, he's a 30-plus year employee, so I would understand that he would wave the PGA flag at the end of the day. He is friends with some of those guys who jumped to LIV. But I guess at the end of the day, my philosophy, your decisions bring you consequences. And they violated their tour card to take blood money. So at this point, I just don't see the door being reopened. What, do they come back with sanctions? Do they come back with an entrance fee? They took all this money. And in Jon Rahm's case, he's owed $100 million. And what lawyers are saying is the companies who've been stiffed by LIV can't get anybody at the LIV headquarters, I think it's in Riyadh, to answer the phone and respond. Yeah. It's like they're walking away, turn their backs on everything, including all their commitments. To me, they may be as wealthy as they can be, but boy, there's no credibility to what they've done to these guys.
Duck and run, Lee. Duck and run.
Yeah, very much so. That's it. We put a lot of topics on the table. We do sports talk the way it should be done on this podcast. Topics, opinions, and then we open the door for you to join us. It's time for Fans Forum. Podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. 8 locations to serve you in San Diego. You got projects, they got materials. You want ideas? They can be your consultant, your best friend. Visit DIXIELINE.com just to see what they've got to offer. Build it, fix it. We think you'll enjoy it, courtesy of DIXIELINE.com. Okay, the DIXIELINE dudes, as we're being called, are now open for business with Fans Forum. The guy with his legs kicked up in his new castle with the ocean view through the palm trees, and the guy left behind here in the North County, 101 degrees in my freaking driveway. We're ready to answer your question. Stop laughing at me. That's not fun. John, go ahead.
All right. We again, if you give us money, we put you to the top of the list, and you can do that using the YouTube Super Chat feature. And MM Forever is on board. He goes, no one cares about the Angels. Skip the topic, please.
Well, I understand that. They are in last place, but we do have a chunk of following out of the OC and in Los Angeles. So we touch bases on what I think is the most important angle to that. Do we do it on a consistent basis? Yeah, not really. But when they fire their front office or they fire their manager or they trade what credible starting pitching they have, we're going to cover it because it is a topic. Angel fan, hey. This guy, MM Forever, is not. That's okay. We'll move on to the next topic because we probably hit your hot button on something else. John, go ahead.
I like that we cover the Angels. Sometimes it's like a public service announcement, just to check a box, because they need some love. But I do root for them. I want them to be successful. And I think that Artie Moreno's finally made the right move here with this John Mozeliak. I mean, he's making the decisions that I think should have been made a long time ago.
I agree. I mean, made so many mistakes, and it's tough. It's tough to patch it up. And they got a lot of work to do from a player personnel standpoint at the major league level, and obviously to rebuild the farm system. Thanks for being with us. Next one, John.
Okay. This one came in actually before we hit the go live button. And this was from Christopher. He goes, waiting for all the frauds fans, to attempt to have a hot take that doesn't suck. Hasn't happened since 1969 and won't be happening anytime soon. Probably a Dodger fan, right, Lee?
Christopher doesn't value the people on Fans Forum. Everybody's got a right to have an opinion. That's what Sports Talk is all about. Sports Talk Radio, Sports Talk on live stream. Now, you don't have to buy somebody's opinion, somebody's theory. You're entitled to your own. John, you need friends out there in left field under that palm tree. If you're drinking that pineapple drink with the straw and the umbrella, so we'll send a few of these people with those type of opinions. They could sit next to you, but that's okay.
You think I drink those foo-foo drinks?
Anything's possible. Well, hey, now that you're living different.
I'll take a Bombay Sapphire gin martini, dry, shaken, not stirred. Okay.
Hey, if we get the chance to do one of these podcasts from the roof.
Oh, we will.
New condo. Everybody's going to agree. The life of Riley's turned out pretty.
It's a nice change, Lee. Okay. Let's keep going. Let's go to Casey. Hey, good afternoon, guys. Hacksaw, with Mark Walter selling the Lakers and being investigated, do you think the Dodgers will end up getting sold down the road eventually?
Initially, I had legal people, and this is all beyond me intellectually. I just don't know finance. I went drinking that day at Ohio U, and the girl I met was fabulous, so I didn't go to finance class that day. But I will say this. Initially, I was told it was a bookkeeping transaction issue. But the deeper we go, and the more I've tried to read the depths of this, I'd read some stuff in the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. This is really complicated and involves the transfer of $21 billion of insurance company money that's supposed to be in this account to take care of clients, transferred it to other accounts to pay loans, maybe to purchase the Dodgers, whatever. And now he's got to come up with the money And that's why I was told he's trying to raise $21 billion. That's why he's sold the Lakers and he's selling Chelsea, because he's got to take that $21 billion and put it back into the insurance company funds. Now, he's not been charged with anything. And I will tell you, the SEC investigates a lot, according to the financial guy that I text with. They'll investigate a lot. Does not mean it's wrongdoing. Sometimes it's misguided decisions. So if he's not charged, then it was a bad business decision. If he is charged with fraud, that's a much deeper thing. If he sold off everything except the Dodgers, then I think he'll just put this fire out and he'll solve the insurance problem in Delaware. Does that make sense, John?
It does. It does. It's funny. People are piling on, like Drew here goes, Dodgers are cheaters. Because remember when they were spending all that money and people were going crazy, he says, you can't do this. You're ruining baseball. And then Dodger fan is like, well, any team could spend this money if they had it. Well, it turned out it was kind of like almost like a Ponzi scheme, right?
We don't know that it was a Ponzi. You're indicting Mark Walter right now. The government
you're right. Allegedly. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's see where it goes. But hey, listen, if you want to throw rocks at the guy in the other street corners wearing Dodger blue, that's okay. We'll see where the story goes. I don't think we've heard the end of it. I do think it's deeper now than any of us realized. Next question, John.
Okay, this is a good one from a new guy, Brian. Hey, happy birthday, Lee.
Thank you very much.
So can you share with me a birthday memory? When you were a little boy, did you have birthday parties out in Long Island?
Yeah, but that was a focal point. I grew up in a family of four, lived in a neighborhood where everybody had 3 kids, 4 kids. Vis-a-vis, that's what Catholic families did. And we'd have all kinds of birthdays and all kinds of fun. And yeah, I've been gone from Long Island a long time. John, you're from the Bay Area. I miss it now. I mean, I grew up and I left to go to university, and I never really ever went home. And I kind of look back now and say, gee, I miss that. And I run across people from Long Island all the time. And we start talking about growing up there and hurricanes and blizzards and, beaches and boats and fishing. And so I kind of miss that chunk of my life. I don't have any family back there that lives on Long Island anymore. My family is all on the Eastern Seaboard, and some of it's international. So, so it was cool. It really was.
Happy birthday, Lee. It's a special day for you.
Not bad for being an old dog. But I told my brother, though, my brother called me from Delaware, and we started laughing because I'm the oldest in my family. And he calls me old dog, to which I said, old equals experience and knowledge. You are right. I am good.
Do you tell your brother that you're bleeping brilliant?
Yeah, he knows that.
Okay, let's go to Callan. Afternoon, gents. Do you really buy Goodell's notion that the NFL will actually add a team or a full division over in Europe? He can't be that serious to think that would work at all, right?
That's down road, though, Callum. That's way down road. I mean, the international games, it's all about money and marketing globally. All that. The international games have been a tremendous success. But if you're going to put a franchise there, not have Jacksonville make a road trip and play a home game in London, but you put a franchise there, or you put in a group of teams there in different markets, how do you make it work from a schedule standpoint? Do they play 4 home games and then come stateside and play 4 road games and train at somebody's facility? I mean, the logistics to execute that would be phenomenal. And I don't know how easy that's going to be done. So when Goodell made the comment about an international team, he wasn't talking about next season. I don't think he's talking about 3 seasons from now. I think this is so complex, you'd have to think it out. It'd really be hard. And a union gets involved in that too. And, you've got methodology. You're talking about a lot of people, a lot of players, and a lot of investment, because you're asking people to go live abroad for half the season, if not longer. It's a novel idea, but visiting to play at Wembley Stadium in London is different than having a franchise in London, one in Munich, one in Paris, and one in Spain. That's a whole different set of circumstances. From it's more than a business standpoint, business investment. It's how do you execute it? Make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a logistics problem, right? I mean, these guys are going to be going on these 14-hour plane flights and, you got to play a ball game. It would be tough, but I do like the concept, the vision, of this whole thing where it is international because rarely do we ever have these kinds of competitions unless we have like a World Cup or some kind of an event, the Olympics. But it would be neat where a sport was truly global and competed globally. You don't even get that in soccer, like with all the, because most of the leagues are nation based.
Yeah, exactly. But again, had he executed over a full calendar season, that's to me, it's logistically, I think it's impossible. But we'll talk more about it as we go forward. But like I say, this is not going to happen a week from Monday. Guarantee you on that one. Thanks, Callum.
Okay, let's go here to Philip. And he says, happy birthday, Hacksaw. He goes, hey, a few episodes back, you were talking about the UNLV coach basically soliciting for NIL money from people for the basketball program. It seems to me that the NIL process has no guidelines or barriers on how the colleges get their money for their sports in the future. Of the NCAA does not put in rules for donations. Could you see big corporations or more fat cats, quote, donating money for favors or sponsorship rights?
Well, this thing has been out of control. It's kind of called the Wild West. Private equity is there offering money. Some universities have accepted a little bit. Most have not at this point. Belichick and Mike Lombardi at North Carolina. Lombardi went to Saudi Arabia to talk to them about that aspect of investing in the North Carolina football. But this is all going to change. It's going to change in early September because that's when Congress comes back, John. And at that point, I think we're going to get a vote on the antitrust exemption and the Save College Sports Act. And when that happens, everything changes because the antitrust exemption will give the NCAA control of everything under the sports umbrella. That'd be network TV contracts, negotiations. That would involve NIL money, outside money, control of the transfer portal. It'll be all under an antitrust flag. Because right now, every time a judge makes a decision about NCAA eligibility or funding or outside source revenue or NIL, it's immediately followed by somebody's lawsuit. That's going to end if it's an antitrust exemption. So early September, I think we'll be talking about this. And I do think Congress, which has worked really hard, and there's been a lot of give and take between Big Ten and SEC who are beating heads about what they wanted and didn't want. I think all that language has been resolved. So I think in September, John, you and I will be talking a little bit more about this. I think they're going to get this antitrust exemption.
Good. I mean, they need to be able to rule their roost.
Yes.
And even, what's his name? Dustin May. Remember, he was talking about how he was fed up with the whole process. That's why he left Michigan as a basketball coach. But I'll give the young man at UNLV, what's his name? It's like Pasternak or
Yeah,
Pasternak?
just Pastner.
Pastner. Okay, yeah. And he was made like a off the cuff, tweet or a little short video about, hey, we're looking for, a new quote owner of the UNLV Running Rebels. And I thought, it's kind of a clever idea. If you kind of have a sugar daddy to help run, or sponsor the team for a year, but he kind of got put on the squash on that. I guess he was using language that needed more legal clarification.
Yeah, very much so. But you look at who's buying players. I mean, Ohio State's payroll for football is $40 million. That's a lot of big cigars. Texas Tech trying to buy the whole world, trying to become big time. That is happening everywhere to me, to the detriment of the sport. Yes, I'm excited to see the great intersectional game. Second week of the season, Ohio State plays Texas. That's great. But what about all the have-nots in college football? Half the conferences don't have that kind of money. And what about the second tier? The group of six, none of them have access to that kind of money. That's not good for the sport overall. So that's why this antitrust exemption, I think, is going to bring law and order to this, and it'll be the end of all these lawsuits and players' rights screaming with every lawyer and every agent.
Yeah, let's straighten it out.
Okay. Phil, thank you for being with us.
This was a kind of a clever comment here. This is from Batfan. Who do I petition at Major League Baseball to move the Padres to the AL West and move one of the Texas teams to the NL West?
Well, we used to have some of that. I mean, Houston used to be out here. You got the transfer of Houston, you got the Milwaukee thing. There's not going to be any realignment, and you never want to realign based on power. I mean, the Padres have their relationships in the National League West, and there's nothing wrong with that. What has to happen is Colorado's got to get good again. I thought about this about a week ago. Remember how good the Rockies used to be? When they had Arenado, when they had Larry Walker, when they had Todd Helton. Holy cow, they were really good, and going to Coors Field to play those guys was really special. Not so right now. So, yeah, there's not going to be any realignment. It is what's going on in the American League is kind of weird. We talked about it at the onset in our baseball segment. What do you got? 10 of the 15 teams in the American League are below 500. You got all these sub 500 teams going to wind up. A couple of them going to wind up in the wild card race. That's not very good. So it's cyclical, but there won't be any realignment in baseball for the time being.
You left out Vinny Castilla's name.
Yeah.
Well, the Blake Street Bombers.
Sure.
This is an interesting topic because I think, remember the Padre game when they were on NBC a couple of weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
They kind of dabbled into this topic because they were talking about how always trying to remember that Houston's in the American League and now Milwaukee's in the National League. But it is a fun idea to think about moving teams around. But remember back in the day, the NL West, it wasn't just the Astros. The Atlanta Braves were in the NL West.
Way back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, so some of the geographic alignment, at least it makes more sense now. And I like the fact that all the divisions are balanced. There isn't like a 6-team division and a 4-team division like they had before.
I agree with you. Okay, we move on.
We move on. Okay, let's see if we could pick someone else here. Oh, yeah, sports fan. This is an interesting comment from him. He goes, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, would you trade Emmett Sheehan or Yoshinobu Yamamoto or Roki Sasaki or Justin Robleski, Will Klein, or maybe even Landon Knack in the offseason? What players would you trade them for?
Well, first of all, you're not going to move Yamamoto. You're not going to move Sasaki. Robleski has had a really surprise season. I don't know that anybody expected him to be what he was the first half of the year, get to the All-Star game, but now he's hurt. Knack had an injury. It's taken him time to come back. I thought Sheehan, if I were the Detroit Tigers in the Skubal deal, I would have demanded Sheehan in the transaction, but they didn't do that. Klein is facing elbow surgery, and he's a journeyman reliever. Who knows the extent? At this point, Dodgers don't need to trade anybody. I mean, they already obviously made the Skubal trade, so that's their offseason acquisition. So, why would you break up first place team? Just need to get everybody healthy more than anything else. Gold standard pitching staff. My goodness, I sit there and I put those names. John and I did that last week. I had 9 starters if they're all healthy. Dodgers have 9 starters. Hell, we got teams that don't have 2.
No, it's an embarrassment of riches. But there is still the controversy with the Dodgers that they have a sweetheart deal on the amount of revenue sharing that they have to do on their TV deal. That apparently was a leftover from that bankruptcy from McCord.
Well, that's all going to change. Whatever the new CBA is, because the Dodgers. I think the number we have talked about, John. The Dodgers get $323 million a season in their TV rights fee. All that money goes into the pot. According to the new CBA, everybody puts all their local TV money into the pot, and it's going to be divvied up amongst the 30 teams. Now, I think under this last CBA that's still in effect, I think the Dodgers contributed maybe 45% of their TV revenue into the pot. Now all 100%. That includes the Yankees and the Cubs. Everybody's got a big TV deal, and everybody's got nickel and dime TV deals, like the Pirates or the Padres. It all goes into the same pot and will be divvied up evenly. So whatever the new collective bargaining agreement looks like for next year, it's going to be different as it relates to the pot of gold the Dodgers used to have.
Yeah, well, I'm anxious to see how this all sorts out. Okay, let's keep going here. Let's go to Texocala Station. Hey, wow, it's your birthday, Hacksaw? Happy birthday. Hey, do you think the Padres have righted the ship in the pitching department? I think maybe so. They seem to be doing better, and the team seems enthused.
The pitching staff is stabilized. They're getting quality starts. Nobody's going to say that Robbie Ray is a Cy Young Award winner, or that Casey Mize should be somebody's number one, but as a trustworthy 2-3 behind Michael King, right in front of Walker Buehler, and you still got Randy Vasquez. So now you got strength in numbers to keep you in games. To me, I'll say this is not going to go down very well. They've had this run where they're hot. What are they, 18-7, I think, in the last 25? The bulk of that's come against bad teams. And they still got Minnesota and Pittsburgh to start playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday into next week. After that, they go back out on the road and start to play good teams again. So the Dodgers really need to grab a wild card spot by chokehold. But I think right now they've traded themselves into being a playoff team. One thing I need to see is I need to see Manny Machado not hit 211. And I need to see Gavin Sheets not hit 188. He's in a terrible hole. I do think Jackson Merrill will bounce back. He had kind of a rocky road trip at 2 for 21. But, they just need to have everybody hitting on all cylinders. And I also think they need to get home field advantage for the playoffs, at least the first round, because you don't want to have to go to Wrigley Field or Atlanta to play all three games if they're going to be a wild card team. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, I think the pitching is looking really good.
Yep.
Even like Robbie Ray was looking good. Casey Mize after that first outing really settled in. But you figure you got the two new guys in Ray and Mize. Then of course you still got King and Buehler. In that number 5 spot, I think they're still going to the bullpen days. I don't know why they just don't start Randy Vasquez. I mean,
there's too much risk involved. If you get a bad outing, and Peralta is not pitched well since July. His ERA is really high. So I'm not giving Peralta the ball.
No, not him, no.
And Kyle Hart's pitched pretty well. So Vasquez has shown us, at least in 3 starts, pretty decent, bouncing back to a little bit of what it was the first third of the season. So don't screw around with giving a ball to a reliever for the first or second inning, because I think you kind of need that insurance policy group of guys in the bullpen as long relievers. So we'll see where this goes going forward. But once they get beyond the Twins and the Pirates, they start playing real people again. Real people again.
This next comment's good. It's further proof, Lee, that you have, how should I say this, seized the senior demographic in the world of sports talk. This is from Bobello. Rush, Brad Sesmat, Steve Hartman, Lee Hamilton. We want 690 back now.
Yeah, we had a pretty eclectic group of guys, and add into that Jim Rome, because he was a piece of that equation too, as he developed his own style and his own shtick with his own clientele. Now we had just a unique group of guys, and that begat unique and different morning shows, some that worked and some that failed. But it begat the loose cannons, whether that was Steve Hartman with Chet Forty for the short period before Chet passed, and Steve Hartman with Philly Billy, and John Quintera came on board. I mean, we had really unique guys. Now, that was early in the stages. We were the first ones through the wall. Nobody else was doing it. And that's why I've been thinking about maybe in a week or so, John, we're going to do a segment on Sports Talk in San Diego versus what Sports Talk was in L.A., and we're going to have some people on from did Sports Talk in both markets, kind of talking a little bit about it, just kind of change the pace of the podcast. But no, it was unique. It was valued. I think in retrospect, we look back now and have seen what had developed in this market. Now, there's noise everywhere. Everybody's doing some form or fashion of sports talk, not necessarily all doing it well, but we were the first ones through the wall, so we were pretty good at it.
Yeah, it's interesting too when the national media will sometimes take a look back on the history of sports journalism or on sports talk radio, and they'll bring up 690. It was a big deal when you guys broke through in the late 80s. And I know for me, I was just out of college, and one of my buddies that I was working with, because we love talking sports all the time. He says, "Have you heard of this guy, Hacksaw? He's on like the talk radio station on the AM dial, and he's really good. You should check him out." And I tuned into you, and I was like, who the hell is this guy? I mean, you were just breaking down every sport, and it was unbelievable what you guys accomplished there. And in many ways, you were like a pioneer in this business. You were the godfather of all these podcasters.
Yeah, blame me, right? Thank you. No, It was very different. And again, nobody had ever done it before. There were mom and pop talk shows. You know, the Padres used to do a post-game talk show. When I first met Dave Campbell, he was doing Padre post-game on 760 KFMB. Dodgers had Dodger Talk on KABC. But it was more mom and pop than it was we're covering everything every day, different topics, lots of opinions. Damn it. It was very, very different. And we did stuff on across the platform with such diverse and unique personalities. John, it was like, I'm grabbing you by the shirt. You got to listen to what I say, or listen to what the coach says, or listen to what Romy and his people say, what Hartman and the Loose Cannons. I mean, it was, and we came at it from so many different angles. It was really cool.
It was a great era in the world of sports, and then the internet changed a lot of things in terms of how people consume sports media. But yeah, tip of the hat to what you guys accomplished there. Let's keep on trucking here. And here's another smart aleck. Hey, this is Johnny Boy Johns. Hey, Madres wishes the Dodgers would go away. Get the F out of here.
Padre fans don't like Dodger fans, vice versa, etc. Let's just get to the 1st of October in the playoffs and see who's matching up against who and who's going to show up. But the one positive we've had in the last 5 years, even though it's been littered by a lot of frustration, John, is the Dodger-Padres series. Everybody's talking about it. Whether it's you choked or how the hell did you upset them, you knocked us out and ruined our season, or 24 straight shutout innings on a bullpen day. Nobody's forgotten that. So that aspect of the rivalry, that's really good for business.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I love it. I love everything about it. I think it's fantastic. And I like the smack talking. It's good. Okay, let's go over here, do some social media. A lot of comments here. Let's talk some more Angels. And this was a Surf City Bill, Lee. And he says, Maddox wasn't using analytics. Mike Maddox, he goes, did he ever see the movie Moneyball? Reminds me of the old coaches that fought Billy Bean and wanted to stick with the old methods.
I found it kind of surprising that Maddox got ejected. But at the end of the day, there's the overall philosophical position. And maybe it had to do, the bullpen was just horrible. But they had stretches of time where some of the starters pitched really well. So somewhere along the way, Maddox had to have good input in helping Detmers become what Detmers has become this year. Same thing with what Soriano did out of the gate, although I thought he piled up way too many innings the first half of the season. But obviously, leadership, Mozeliak didn't like what he saw, and that's why he made the change. So now he's got a trusted guy. The guy that they've made interim pitching coach has been with the St. Louis Cardinals for 20 years and worked under John and all these other people. So we'll just see. They got a massive offseason ahead. If they're going to have free agent money to use, if the owner will give them the money back to spend. So it should be a destination point for the right guys. And Mozeliak he's got a good track record of building stuff in St. Louis over a long period of time. I mean, he was the decision maker with the Cardinals, I think, for 18 years, and they had a lot of good baseball. But it's a long road back.
Yeah, I was surprised when I heard that. I mean, because considering how much these major league teams are investing into their analytics and, to all the nerds in the front office, you don't want the pitching coach just to blow it off. I mean, if he were my pitching coach, I would have fired him too.
We'll see where it goes. On we go.
On we go. Some Chargers talk here, Lee. This is from Bolt Nation. And he goes, Mr. Hacksaw Hamilton, a longtime follower and listener. I've been a Charger fan before Dan Fouts became a Charger. But anyways, I believe that with Tooley and Mack playing on the outside, Mesidor will get to the opposing quarterbacks. It'll be a different story when opposing O-lines have to focus on Tooley and Mack. As James blitzes from the outside, they will forget about Mesidor.
Good headline there. This looks different. This is going to be different. Offense is going to be different with Mike McDaniel's impact on Justin Herbert. Now, this horrific loss of their starting center, that's a big blow because now you're looking at two rookies who've never taken a snap in anger, going to be your starter and your backup center to start the season. Wow, that's an issue. Defensive side of the football, a lot of changes. There's no doubt their perimeter rush guys are phenomenal. That being said, There's no Barry Minter there. He is now the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. Keep that in mind. This is a new coach coming out of Western Michigan, Chris O'Leary, to be the defensive coordinator. So there'll be a bit of a learning curve there. But there's no doubt Messidor is explosive. Now they're going to have to teach him how to fight through blocks. I watched closely when Messidor was coming off the line of scrimmage in the first preseason game, and he was just explosive with power, but he never beat the tackle. He got pushed, he got knocked down, he got blocked out to the edge. So we'll see the second game when they play in Houston later, or play San Francisco tonight. Let's just see how Messidor does in terms of getting off the line of scrimmage and if there's different technique to help them. But I do think defensively they are. I think the word I'll use is tremendously athletic. I just think they got guys who can fly at linebacker, collectively at linebacker. Really, really good group. So we'll see. But I just terrible they lost the starting center before they ever got a chance to play a game together.
Yeah, that was a problem. But, I'll tell you what, this Bolt Nation here, he's been a fan since before Dan Fouts was the quarterback. So, Lee, again, you dominate the old guy demographic in sports talk radio.
Good deal. Hey, we know football. We had opinions about football. Want you to be part of this podcast and have opinions about football, too. So, between Rams, Chargers, Raiders, there's always a lot to talk about on this podcast. Okay, John, how about one more?
One more. Let's get a quick one in here from Mr. Corbin. And he says, Hacksaw, you're talking about, Don and Mud here. Hacksaw, so you want them to be more like you? Everyone has their own style. If Don and Mud played with you, the other game, the updates every 10 minutes, they wouldn't be as good. Same if you tried to be more like them. You don't have their humor, but I love all of you.
Well, that's okay. I didn't say every 10 minutes. I just say every 3 innings. Give me scoreboard updates. And please back off on theme games. A little too much promotion. But those guys are great. And I said that was a preface to everything I said about evaluating the Padre broadcast, that I thought it could be deeper and could be better than it is at this hour. But by the way, for those who are not paying attention, there's a website called awfulannouncing.com today. They do their annual TV voice ratings report card. They gave Don and Mud #1 in all of Major League Baseball for the second year in a row. Congrats to them, from one broadcaster to another. But add something to the TV broadcast that I proposed. Hey, listen, we hope you have enjoyed this podcast. We're here Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. And John succeeded today. No FUBAR. We got through the whole podcast with having the thing fall apart on us. But we hope you, and thank you for being very tolerant of some of the bumps we've had in the road, technically, in the last week or so, until John got to his new castle. I can't do anything about the fact it's 76 degrees where he is, looking out onto the ocean view, and it's 101 in my driveway. But I'll guarantee you this, the content on this podcast will be damn good. Podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 8 locations to serve you in San Diego. Build it, fix it, guarantee you'll like it at DIXIELINE.com. John, you kick back with your, whatever the damn drink you're having with the straw and the umbrella and all that.
We don't play that.
You enjoy your great sports weekend. We'll talk to you come Monday at 1:30. Enjoy all things Padres, all things Dodgers, all things NFL weekend. It's just around the corner.
Lee, happy birthday. You're so damn cantankerous, Just chill out for an evening and enjoy yourself with the fine Mrs. Hacksaw.
I will. Thank you for all the greetings, too. Hope you'll tell your friends what we do. Check my website. Become part of Hacksaw's Insiders Group. And as always, thanks for being with us. Have yourself a great sports weekend, courtesy of Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast app. For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.